Hello and welcome to Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, WebDave, David Anthony, whatever. I answer to anything. And we are here with the one and only X1 the Gamer. X, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. It is great to be here. Thank you very much for having me on. I am very much looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. Me too. I have been enjoying your content for several months now. Actually, probably a little longer than that, and I really have enjoyed what you've put out, and I want to make sure that more people get to enjoy the content you provide, and so that's kind of why we're here, man. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation and coming on. So again, this is gonna be a lot of fun for me too. And like I said, the more people that know about the great members of the gaming community, I think the better we all are, no matter where we play or what we do in the community. It's a great community to be in, and again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, you've had a lot of people on, a lot of big names on. So I'm honored that you asked. Thank you.
Well, like I said, I think you're great. So, and more people are going to find out about how great you are right now. So I
Or
got to scroll up.
they'll hate me and never want to watch my
Whatever,
videos.
whatever, whatever. Only if they're a pony. But anyway, I'm just kidding. Uh, I'm sure you have some of those come after you too. We all do, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
every
all
day.
right. Exactly. Pretty much. There you go.
Yeah.
So what I like to always like to start off, just a little bit. I guess, and I may have some dogs bark in the background every now and again, but my wife's going to be taking care of them, so we don't have to worry about that. But sometimes they do get a little yippy right when I start the podcast, right when I start to record, and it's the
Always
way it
on
goes.
cue.
Real life happens, but this is still fun to do. All right, so I guess how did you get into gaming, or what was your first experience with gaming? Was it probably PC, arcade,
Yeah, my
consoles? What got
yeah,
you
my
started in?
very first, in fact, my first memory gaming, I think I was 5,
Mm,
and for Christmas, my parents bought me and my sister, who's a year younger than me, a OG Nintendo, so a regular Nintendo, and it was Mario, and that's my earliest memory. I remember sitting and my dad playing with us.
mhm.
Those were the good old days before I had other siblings come in and we got too big of a
Take over?
family. I have four siblings total, or no, 3 siblings, so 4 kids total. But
Yep,
yeah, my parents were young and so my dad was playing with me, and that's my earliest memory, the regular Nintendo.
that's pretty cool. That's cool. I guess with that, did it kind of spark a passion for gaming, or did you? I mean, did you just like, grow to other consoles, or how did I guess your journey through gaming to where you are now, evolve? And what else did you get in different kinds of consoles? Was it always Nintendo, or how
Yeah,
did
so
things
I
open
mean,
up
I
for you?
pretty much stayed with Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo, then a Nintendo 64. In fact, my mom is from Scotland, so all my cousins are from England,
Nice.
Scotland. I remember my cousin from England coming over, and gosh, I think we were like 10, and us getting in a fight over who was faster, Sonic or Mario. And at the time, it was like Nintendo versus Sega. He was a Sega guy, and so I was dumb and trying to argue that Mario was faster. He's not. Sonic's faster. But I was always Nintendo. Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 actually is my fondest memories. I remember getting that also for Christmas. I think I
Nice.
was 7th grade, 6th grade, maybe at the time. Maybe it was slightly younger, maybe 5th or 6th grade, right around there. And it was 007. And that
Yeah,
was the game. Here was the first time you could play 4 players on the same screen against each other, sitting there, and just blew my mind. So we'd go visit my grandparents, would take that with me, all my cousins would play and stuff. Then we got a PC, first PC, and I was very much into the original XCOM on floppy
yes.
disk and Mist. Mist was I was a huge fan of Mist, the on CD, and also the original King's Quest was there. That was
Oh
that
yeah.
was a big one for me too. Then eventually that evolved, and I did Nintendo 64 and computers, PC gaming for a while. StarCraft was a big one. Command and Conquer was a big one. I really fell in love with real time strategy games. and
Yeah.
turn strategy games with the PC. Then that's when I jumped into. Oh, then I had a Nintendo Cube. Remember those? That
Cool.
the
Mhm.
only console with a handle on it
Yeah.
to date. So
That was
uh
portable, right?
yeah, and then I was a senior in high school and slash just graduating, and I got a job at Game Crazy. If you remember Game Crazy, they were attached to Hollywood
Mhm.
Videos.
Yep.
And that's where I really dove into gaming there, because before that, I just played it for fun. It wasn't I was always outside playing sports. I played sports in high school and then went to junior college playing sports. But really, when I got the game at my first job at Game Crazy, that's when I really dove in. We used to be able to take any game we wanted home to play it, so that we know what we were talking about. So me and my friends, we would just
Right.
get all the games and play them all.
Yeah.
And so that was the OG Xbox I had, and it was Halo. Obviously, it was a big one. Fusion Frenzy was a lot of fun. There was another party game on the original Xbox.
Yep.
Then obviously I jumped into the Xbox 360. Then I started podcasting. My cousin, my brother, and I started an Xbox podcast called the X1 Bros.
Nice.
Um, at the launch of the Xbox One. And this was, gosh, in like 2013. In fact, if
Mhm.
you that podcast is still going. It's just it's for fun. It's something that we like to do. But it's still one of the top. If you search Xbox podcasts, I think we show up on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, like 2 or 3. Um, that was a cool opportunity. We had like it was new. It was 2013, so podcasting wasn't yet big.
Mhm.
And we got to talk to like Ryan McCaffrey, Major Nelson was on the show.
Wow.
Gareth Coker, who's the composer for Ori and the Blind Forest, came on the show. And so we just got
Nice.
exposed to a lot of people, and so through the Xbox One, then started my own channel in along with the X1 Bros podcast, and here we are today. Fun fact: my channel X1 the Gamer started as a Vigor channel. Um, Vigor the game. It's like a free to play, uh, like not Turkov, Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov type of game, but free to
Oh,
play
okay, okay.
on the Xbox. When it initially dropped, it dropped only on the Xbox One.
Right.
I was the number one content creator for Vigor. And slowly over time, my plan was like, okay, because I saw it jump to PlayStation, boom, saw a huge boost in viewership. I was like, okay, I'll just be the guy that does Vigor. I enjoy it. I like playing it. And then it just became evident. So Bohemia does that. And it's never going to be DayZ. They were happy with where it's at. So they're happy with, the numbers that there were there. And I thought, well, I
Mhm.
love Xbox. I'm going to do an Xbox news channel. Unlisted all of my Vigor videos, started again from scratch, and did the X1 the Gamer, and so here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. So I guess, with that, X1 the gamer, how did you come up with the name? Was it
So
just
X1 Bros, yeah, so X1 Bros was
Mhm.
is my gamer tag. Uh
Okay.
and that's what the podcast is under. My Twitter handle is X1 Bros, but it was so closely tied to the podcast that we had already started. And a lot of
Mhm.
people got to just calling me X1.
Mhm.
And so I said, well, I'll just do X1 the Gamer, and that's how that came about.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I mean, it's always good to keep the identifier, some kind of link, to for people to know especially if you've already built it, pretty much a legacy,
Yeah.
with the brand, as it were. So that's a smart thing to do. So you said you like you did podcasting. So was that I mean, I guess obviously I think your channel's growing now on where you pretty much on YouTube. But is it also what other places, I guess, can people find your content? And then, what was that like, I guess, transitioning from
Yeah.
that
So
to where you are now?
yeah. So X1 Bros is still going. We record it every Friday. So we are at our 11th year now, 11th or 12th year,
Wow.
2013. Yeah. And we've never missed a Friday. We've never missed a week. Sometimes we have to change around the days. Um,
Right.
So that's fun. That's primarily podcast. There's a YouTube channel there with that, but that's primarily iTunes, Spotify. What's interesting is that
Mm-hmm.
taught me a lesson is that where people consume. So for instance, if I listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts, there's not a
Mm-hmm.
huge crossover with that audience and YouTube, for instance. So I mean, when we
Right.
first started, we would have 20,000 listeners a week. Again, I'm not bragging. That was just we were just lucky we got in early. If we were to start today, we would have 0 viewers.
Right.
Listeners. That's just the nature of the beast getting in at the right time. Um, and then coming to YouTube, it's like, oh, no, there's some carryover. Some people will follow you over, but it's a small, that Venn diagram is smaller,
Mm.
that
Yep.
crossover. So it's building a whole new audience. And then if you were to go to Twitch, for instance, anyone that's created content, each sphere has its own audience and power users that will follow you and partake of your content. So you kind of got to tailor it to each one. But yeah, I mean, it's just a different. It's just I think podcast and YouTube complement each other really well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it is a different. It was more now than I think. Let's say 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was
Right.
much more visual. Now YouTube, I mean, supports podcasts much more, and people, you can watch YouTube and turn off your phone and it still plays. I consume a lot of my
Yep.
podcasts now on YouTube, even
Yep.
though it's on Spotify and stuff, just because I'm a YouTube power user at this point. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's anybody. I mean, it's anybody that's gone through the content creation grind. It is a grind. It can be
Yes.
difficult and frustrating, but it's also highly, highly rewarding. Just from a growth perspective, you learn a lot. You learn what to do, what not to do. You improve your ability to talk without saying ums and ahs, and your ability
Mm-hmm. Yep.
to over time communicate. I think improves. At least I hope it improves, and you hope it improves. Even if I did not have a YouTube channel, I would encourage everybody to start a YouTube channel, put yourself out there, because there are
Mm-hmm.
these intangible skills that you get, even or a podcast if you're not comfortable on camera. There's intangibles there that you get that you otherwise just would not. Where else do you get that skill?
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. An example from my side, when I've been podcasting probably about 6, 7 years, but of course the gaming thing was really the last 2 years, pretty much since COVID is when I really started doing the quote unquote gaming centric. Had a what, and even then, when I very first started, I guess, podcasting all, it was on iTunes, which I still put out there on iTunes. But it was a show called Escape Pod, which there's probably like 15 shows called that. But I didn't know at the time. I was like, oh, it's what we're gonna call our show. That's pretty cool, you know. And then but it's like and we ended up getting pretty good, and I still have a lot of people that still subscribe. When you look on iTunes and stuff, and you see your subscribe levels and stuff, it's like, wow, that's pretty good. And
Yeah.
a lot of our shows, got big in like China and Japan and shit. Like, I'm like,
Oh wow. Wow.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, but we used to be, that was like it wasn't even gaming related. It was like more local stuff here in Kentucky, where I'm from. Like, we
Yeah.
would interview people from the area and stuff that either had quote unquote made it big or whatever. And one of the shows that we did, actually, even after the YouTube thing, which is hilarious. So I don't know if you remember when Alec Baldwin had the accident on set when he had a
Yep.
child. So,
Of
and I
course.
have friends that are in the movie industry and independent movies and stuff, which that one was. And so I had them on. We kind of did a roundtable for like an hour and a half. I think there's like maybe on YouTube, it's something like 40, 50 views on YouTube. The video I put out, it's on this channel now. But on iTunes, because it was topical and right when all the stuff started happening, that we got them all together and did this, it has over 600,000
Woo.
downloads
Wow.
on iTunes.
And
Now,
that's
and
the
that was
new
my biggest
iTunes.
episode
That's the new
ever.
iTunes number that like shows
Yeah.
unique. Yeah, that's impressive.
Oh, I was like, "What?" And it was the topic. All the other episodes, nothing like that. I mean, maybe a
Yeah.
thousand here or there. Come like, which is cool, but that blew me away. Absolutely blew me
Yeah.
away. And my biggest YouTube video to date is we're doing it for some friends locally. They have a wrestling show, and it's on this channel as well too. So I do Outbreak Wrestling for when I do local stuff, and there was a match between two female wrestlers, but the one female wrestler had never lost,
Oh, wow.
like on her on the shows and stuff that they did. But for this
Yeah.
local show, she turned heel, whatever, and she lost the match. So it's the only match like recorded or whatever where she lost, and it has like 90,000 views on this channel, and I'm like, cool. But,
Yeah, that's awesome.
like I said, and it's like a, 10-minute little clip of the stuff. I even had to cut out like her intro music and stuff was all copyrighted, so I just cut all that stuff out just to get to the match and stuff. But
So
yeah, so you just never know.
dude, local wrestling sounds awesome. Why
Yeah.
did you go away from that?
Well, it was kind of time consuming to be honest. In fact, I do have a match we recorded last year for some friends where they did it here locally. But it's Kentucky and wrestling. It really is a big thing, especially a lot of independent wrestlers. A lot of like I guess Jerry the King Lawler. He's from this area.
Yeah,
Superstar Bill Dundee. You may or may not, recognize any of those. Ric Flair used to come through here in Atlanta and
yeah,
stuff too. So it was like, so those, those kind of, went, but this was way back then, kind of thing.
yeah.
So but it's
I'll tell
always
you
been
what,
kind of been in the blood.
wrestling content like that, very independent local wrestling content, it gets shown to
Mhm.
me all the time on shorts, especially like crazy
Yeah.
moves that people do and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
why those videos take off.
Yeah, it was just it's just crazy. In fact, one of the things we did in this last show, because in Kentucky or yeah, in Kentucky, you have to have a if you have like a cameraman on the ring, you have to have a special license. Well, the guy that had done stuff with me before, does the camera work with me, uh, his license had expired, so we couldn't do that. I was like, oh damn, how are we gonna get these ring shots? So I was like talking to the rest, I was like, well, we just stuck a GoPro one of the ring posts, and so I could actually go to it, like with my switcher here, where I
Oh,
can
wow.
just switch. So I actually
Oh,
have
that's
a ring
cool.
camera on
You
it,
can
where
see
it's like so every now and
people
again the
flung
wrestlers are like
into the
coming
ring.
right at the camera and shit. It's crazy, and the whole ring shakes with the camera. It's like perfect,
Yeah,
You would
that's
just add a
cool.
little dimension to it, kind of thing. But yeah, it's just sometimes you just never know what's going to hit at
Yeah,
all.
no, it's
So,
true. It's true.
but yeah, so I guess one of the things get back to gaming. So obviously you've had a good history with gaming. You have a lot of, I guess, like I said, the good content, as it were. You're more, you seem. I mean, obviously, I don't know what kind of other consoles you have besides the Xbox, if any. So I'm sure you still play on PC. So I guess so what are your feelings or
Mm,
thoughts about gaming currently? In other words, like the time we're living in now
yeah.
is almost like it's almost it's evolved to something 2 or 3 years ago. It was like when you first remember you said Sega fan, and I was like you said, you get you
Yeah,
get fans of that, and I
yeah,
love it, but then you get that was either you this or that, and then and then Sony came on the scene and all the stuff, and people became focused on like a one path kind of thing. I'm a gamer to where, and I could afford it. That's it's not for everybody. It's some gaming is budgetary, but
yeah,
like I had to have it all. Every console, every system, I was there
yeah.
from Neo, Geo all the way up. So what I guess do you think the current state of gaming is, and how do you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do have,
It's a big one. Sorry.
yeah, I do have a PlayStation 5 as well, and I also have, this that I love, the Portal, the PS Portal.
Oh, yep.
And
I've got one too.
I actually think this is the model. Granted, this can't play localized, download hardware. This is the model that I
Right.
want to see the Xbox handheld. Take the Xbox controller, split it in half, give me a big ass
Yep.
screen, and I think that's what will set the Xbox handheld apart. As far as where I think we're at with gaming in 2025, I I think we are honestly, I mean, first of all, we're living through this crazy evolution in gaming, and I think gamers of all stripes, whether you play Nintendo, PC, PlayStation, mobile games, or on the Xbox. I
Mhm.
think it's an exciting time. I think you should be excited about where we're at. Some people will have problem with changes. That's just the reality. Technology
Yep.
is at this space where we're changing. The next 5 years in gaming, in my opinion, is going to look completely different than the last 5 years in gaming. I think you said, just in the last 3 years where we've come in gaming is insane. Cloud gaming will be a thing. If you've never experienced GeForce Now and you're listening to this, go try out GeForce Now. It will blow your mind.
Yep.
It's high end gaming with little to no lag at all. I mean, at all. It feels like it's right there in front of you. So, I'm very optimistic. I say this all the time on my channel. I think we're at the dawn of the golden age of gaming. I think if you think the last 10 years have been the golden age of gaming, buckle up, because I think we're just
Mhm.
scratching the surface of what the golden age of gaming. I think we're going through a correction period on multiple fronts. I think that gaming studios have been spending a lot of money to build these AAA games, and we're living through the correction of that model that is ultimately unsustainable, and only a
Mhm.
few giant publishers can do that. The Rockstars can do a Grand Theft Auto that takes tons of years to build, that takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to build, and then they're able
Mhm.
to recoup that on the back end. They're one of four publishers, four games maybe in the world that could do something like that. uh, so I think we're going through this evolution. I think Game Pass is a part of that. I get called a shill and a fanboy all the time for this, but genuinely, the minute that Phil Spencer said Game Pass, we're moving in this ecosystem direction. Game Pass, subscription gaming, play anywhere you want, however you want, whenever you want.
Mhm.
A light clicked in my head, and I said, yes. Now, I've been full disclosure, been an Xbox guy for a while. I do an Xbox podcast, obviously,
Mhm.
but it just makes sense where we're at with technology. It has never been available to do it this way before. And people will say, well, the game subscription is nothing new. You've been able to do that. Even you were, Gamefly. Remember, you were able to subscribe to Gamefly. Yeah, but none of that is scalable. And it's never
Right.
been scalable in the way that being able to do it digitally through the cloud is scalable. And you can say, well, cloud technology and streaming has existed for forever. Look at what Netflix and Amazon Prime. Yes, but once again, the infrastructure wasn't there worldwide, even with the internet.
Right.
Even I mean, look at something like Starlink. Look at what Starlink is doing. You're able. I have an NCAA 25 league that I'm a part of, and I played a dude. Our match, it was our time to play, and he was camping, but he was playing his Xbox in his tent with Starlink. And it's like, dude,
Nice.
we are entering this phase that is so exciting to be a part of. And so I think we're at the dawn of the golden age of gaming. And I think we're going to see some big shifts in who is at the lead of that, who's at the end of that. Remember, the last time I think we saw a shift like this was when the Dreamcast came out. They dropped off, and then Sega was a big thing, an everyday publisher. I mean, they're still a big publisher, but an everyday platform where people consume their games, and then just went away almost overnight. It
Yep.
wasn't overnight, but almost overnight.
Right.
They didn't adjust at the right time. Timing is everything. They got caught flat-footed, I think, and I think the same thing is going to happen here. We're going to see massive shifts in the industry. Who is not players now will become players. Who is players now may not be
Mhm.
players in the next 10 years.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. When you're thinking about, you talked about Starlink. I think
Mhm.
even I saw earlier that Elon is actually doing some testing again tonight with Starlink and playing Diablo
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
with a bunch of his friends. That but they're like trying to push some boundaries and make some tweaks to it so it's even more lag free. That would be
Yeah,
amazing,
it's
wouldn't it?
pretty decent. I have had a chance to game on it myself, and it's pretty this was, gosh, like 8 months ago,
Hmm.
and even then, and it's improved since then. Even then, it was 90% as good as my home stream. You know what I mean? There was an occasional
Nice.
drop of frames or lag, but it was not bad at all.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's I think it's like you said, the future, you know, is really open to us, as
Yep.
far as what gaming is going to do. I know there's a lot of people that are like, well, I don't like this change, I don't like this change, and this and that, or the other side of the coin. People well, everything's coming to PlayStation. I don't need an Xbox. Not everything's coming. Not everything.
Well, I'll
And
tell you what's not
and
coming.
even then, like, I don't think it's going to be. Um, I mean, yes, there's more and more games coming, but even Phil said it's not the whole slate. The whole red line comment was kind of taken out of context, but the overall point is that there, and he's still to this day doing a case by case basis. Whether that, I think anything, the people that are coming out with the PlayStation, Xbox is dead and all this kind of stupid shit. Excuse my language, but for that kind of comment to say that is like, what's Sony putting out first party right now?
Yeah.
And what about this big loss that they just had with Concord? That's not. I mean, Sony doesn't have fu money, if you know what I mean, because they're a big company. They're $1 billion company for sure, but they're not $1 trillion company.
Yeah, there are levels for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So
Well,
so do you?
here's the thing. What kills
Go
me
ahead.
about why own an Xbox, or why be a part of it? I'm going to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, let's pretend for a minute that
Hmm.
every Xbox first party game goes to PlayStation. You want to know what PlayStation still doesn't have? Game Pass.
Right.
So, and they never will. And if they do, by the way, if they do, it's game
Hmm.
over. like,
Yeah.
like Xbox wins. Like that's game over. They're never going to allow Game Pass to be there. That's the point. We're moving to an ecosystem play, not a hardware play. And that's what Game Pass is. And the thing that I think a lot of people don't recognize, if you just stop and think about it for a minute, why would they let's use Forza Horizon 5 as
Hmm.
the example. Why would they let Forza Horizon 5? That is what sets Xbox apart. Why would
Hmm.
they let that go to PlayStation? Well, how has PlayStation managed to get 3-1? Estimates are anywhere from 3-1 to 5-1 against the Xbox in hardware sales between last generation and this generation.
Right.
They've done it because they've gone to third-party developers that make amazing games and have done timed exclusives with them. What does that
Yep.
mean? It means that, hey, let's take Final Fantasy Rebirth. It's going to be exclusive to PlayStation. Eventually, it'll come everywhere else, but it's going to start out exclusive to PlayStation. Well,
Hmm.
that's all that Game Pass is doing, and it's actually more valuable with Game Pass because, for instance, once a PlayStation game that is a timed exclusive, I'm talking about these third-party games. Let's use
Hmm.
Final Fantasy Rebirth. Once that goes to Xbox, that's it. It's on Xbox. It does nothing to advertise PlayStation now.
Right.
But on Game Pass, when Forza Horizon 5 moves over to the PlayStation 5, that's one giant advertisement for Game Pass. Why? Because you got to pay $69 to play that game,
Hmm.
and you're playing it 2 years after the fact,
Yep.
or you could have played it up front for $20 a month. Now, so why is Xbox doing this? Xbox is doing it because you drop Forza Horizon 5 now, you get I think it's going to be the number one game in the store when it
I think
drops.
so. Yep.
It's one of my favorite franchises. It's amazing. You get diehard fans, people that are addicted over on PlayStation. Yes, they've never owned an Xbox. They pay for that over on PlayStation. Then what happens? Then Xbox announces Forza Horizon 6 and says it's going to be day one on Game Pass. And then a year later, it will come to PlayStation, let's say. What do you think all those diehard fans are going to do? Not your casual fans, but your diehard. You've now introduced them to a new IP that they want to be a part of. They will pay for your Xbox Game Pass subscription. And even if they don't, when it does inevitably go to PlayStation 5 a year later, 9 months later, it's the $70 price tag that Microsoft will gladly take, but it's
Hmm.
still a giant advertisement for Game Pass. I think we're reaching this stage where they have so much content coming out. It's it enables you to be flexible with
Hmm.
releasing your games on other platforms that we've never seen before. And that's what's amazing, because every time you release to another platform, guess what it is? It's a giant advertisement for Game Pass.
Exactly. I totally agree. And for people that think, some Game Pass is dead, Game Pass hurts developers, Game Pass. Game Pass doesn't make developers do anything they don't want to do. It gives a lot of them the opportunity to either finish a game or get more involved in a game and free up their resources to complete the game that they envision where they may not have had the opportunity before. And with the different, Phil said there's multiple different ways that a game developer can get into it. In other words, you can be set it up to where so much of your revenue is based off how many people play your game, or you can just do a flat type, you know we'll give you this much, and then it however many you have, and of course it's a game by game, and there's multiple different ways they can approach them. There's some games that are on there just temporarily, like 6 months, and then they're gone,
Yep.
and then they kind of, some of them fight to come back
Yeah.
because of the success.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's
you
an
know,
eyeball. It's an eyeball game. How do I get eyeballs on my, on my product? And that's how you do it.
yep, I agree 110%. I got a storm coming through if you hear some thunder
Oh,
in the
I do. Wow.
background.
Wow. That's intense.
And that just came up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I'm
we
like
get
all
those. I'm in
drunky.
Utah. We get those storms as well, but that's intense. Wow.
Yeah, I'm maybe like 6 miles from the Ohio River where I'm
Oh,
at.
okay.
So it's a lot of times it just carries right down the river, and
Are you in tornado country?
we've had a few, but
Oh, okay.
not too bad. Nothing, nothing like Kansas. Yeah, but we've had a few through here. Yeah, yeah, or at least high winds and stuff. So, but I'm pretty safe here. It's all good.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about my subdivision is that all of our lines are underground, so there's no power lines in the air at all in
Yeah,
this
that's
area.
nice. Yeah, that's
So
a must, especially
now,
if it gets windy.
yeah, exactly. Now, if it hits the main center where the junction boxes and everything are, it's
Yeah.
maybe a different story. But we're good. We're good. We're good. So anyway, so I just wanted to let you know what that sound in the background might be. It's not my stomach growling. I did eat today. Just kidding. But yeah, so back to, I guess, Game Pass. We think is definitely a good future. That they're really just kind of scratching the surface on. I think that, and plus more and more games and developers. The newest, I guess, the thing that kind of surprised people was at this recent direct. When they talked about the Ninja Gaiden, and that it was actually, I guess, Microsoft basically put up the money and produced the game. That's another company's franchise.
Yeah.
They're like, we want to have your game on our box, but we'll allow you, if you let us have it on Game Pass, we'll allow you to put it every place. So
I
they're
mean,
able to
yeah,
put
it's
it
a
on.
win. It's a win-win, win-win.
Exactly. And I
And
think
that's
more and
that
more
flexibility
developers.
that I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Under the old model on
Yeah.
consoles, you couldn't do that because if Ninja Gaiden's on another box, that doesn't benefit me at all. So what, I got to have you on my stage? Whoop-de-doo, you're on another box.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with this model, I think there's going to be more and more, maybe even some big developers. There's a lot of rumors going around that possibly, and you may or may not have heard this rumor, but it's, again, this is a rumor. This is not fact. This is just a rumor. But Ubisoft has been into a little bit of trouble, and that possibly Microsoft has approached them with the possible Splinter Cell type tie-in. That would be, for them, perfect, because Splinter Cell is pretty much synonymous with Xbox. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you hear that sound and you're like, oh, yeah, when
Yeah.
it first came out, that was the thing. So I
Yeah.
don't, like I said, that's, but the thing is, they could at least now go to a big company like Ubisoft, who is, didn't have, has had, unfortunately, some failures. So they're not in the best financial state that they've been in the past. So maybe they'd be looking at something like that, thinking, "Cool, all right," because it's the law. I guess the gain for them could be so much more than having to dump more money into something. They don't have to carry all the risk anymore.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. And I
So,
mean, that was one of the problems with, at least according to Phil Spencer, he's talked about this before. One of the problems with these expensive AAA, and why we're getting sequels and not getting experimentation with new
mhm.
games, is because it costs so much. I gotta do the IP that's, I know, is gonna get eyeballs that I can make that money back with. Under this, there's built-in eyeballs if you're on Game Pass for your game, so you can experiment with different types of games. You can take more risks in that way.
Yeah, yeah. So, So I guess another question to ask you, just your opinion, and this is, I don't think either one of us have any kind of insight in this, but I'll just, would you think it's a possibility? Do you think it's completely lunacy? Because some people are convinced that eventually the way the market's heading, that PlayStation may actually put games, some of their back catalog, not only on on PC, and which they've even done, recently, Hogwarts Lego, or whatever, not Hogwarts, but the Horizon
Horizon
Lego,
Lego, yeah.
was going to, to the Switch. So is it a possibility that maybe some of their, tentpole properties
Uh,
might go to Xbox someday?
Someday possible, yes. Anytime soon, I don't think so. I think I think that PlayStation is kind of a victim of its own success in this
Right.
way, in that because Xbox was in the position in the console war. So make no mistake, first of all, when people are like Xbox is getting crushed, yes, if you look
Mm.
at comparative numbers to Nintendo and PlayStation, but all three of them are still more successful than they've ever been. So it's not like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like it's like a trillionaire compared to a billionaire compared to a millionaire. Well, you're all rich.
Yeah.
There's just levels to that, right? So, uh, but I think what benefited Microsoft and Xbox is with how poorly the Xbox One did, which I think ultimately affected the Xbox Series X and S, and their decision to move, is they were forced to think about things differently and forced to say, okay, we're not catching these guys. How? And I'm just theorizing here. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know if that's actually what happened, but we can't catch these guys. How do we what is there's a famous book, Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a marketing book.
Hmm.
If you've ever read it, the idea there is, instead of being, competing in the same market with the same person, create a whole new ocean for yourself, a blue ocean. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what I think they've done with Game Pass. It's a blue ocean strategy. Hey, we're no longer competing. We're not competing. And Phil Spencer said this, gosh, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where he said, we don't actually consider PlayStation our competition. Who we consider our competition is the Googles of the world, the Apples of the world,
Hmm.
the Amazons of the world. And you can see why. In a future, if you're looking 15 years down the road, in that future, it is who can provide services to stream games over the cloud. That's clearly where Microsoft was looking at when they made that statement. And there's a handful of people who own that space. Microsoft is one of them, but so is
Hmm.
Google, so is Amazon. Uh, and so you can see why that shifted. But I think that's the benefit you get of being in the back. You're willing to take chances, you're willing to experiment, you're willing to be a little more risky because you
Hmm.
have to be.
Yeah.
Whereas PlayStation, I mean, they're king, they're top dogs. They don't have to. They're still having success, even though we know they're not seeing the growth in consoles. Everybody's admitted that
Yep.
we've kind of peaked out in console space. How do we onboard more people from there? So it's a problem everybody's experiencing, but PlayStation doesn't have to move as quickly because they are top dogs
Right.
with their console.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I personally think that not moving on from the last gen, like, in other words, not making it to where, I know, like, the Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be current gen only, so it's not going to be on
Yeah,
the older, like, no PlayStation 4, nothing like that. So that's going to move systems,
yeah,
and it just depends on where you get the. I think that if you get the marketing to that, not going to be in Game Pass or anything like that, but if you're able to at least get some of the marketing to where you're able to maybe put out an Xbox with that new game on the cover and say it's available here. I mean, it may be available other places, but if you can just say that it's available here, maybe that casual gamer that goes into a store to buy the new system, instead of, the old tried and true, PlayStation, they might say, "Ooh, I've heard of Xbox. They got Game Pass. Wait, what,
yeah.
3 months of Game Pass included? What does that mean? That kind of thing. Just maybe. that can at least not. It's not going to it's not going to flip them overnight or anything like that. But it's baby steps, not
Yeah.
literally the game bad. But anyway, but to get them in the right direction. So do you see that like maybe if they continue and now they're talking about next gen hardware already
Yep.
and handhelds and things like that. Do you think that's the right move for Microsoft?
I mean, I think they're gonna have a console for the next generation, so let's say the next 7 to 10 years, I'm
Hmm.
sure, but I do think we reach a point where no one has consoles anymore.
Right.
I think it's like I've heard this analysis, this isn't my idea, I've seen it somewhere, I forget where I see it, but it's like Blu-ray players and DVD players.
Yeah.
Um, Imagine only being able to play Sony DVDs and Blu-rays on which, by the way, Blu-ray is actually a Sony technology, fun fact.
Yep.
They own that, but imagine only being able to play on Sony players. That doesn't make like that would be so foreign to us, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I think consoles are going tech, at least current trajectory. Anything can happen, but current trajectory based on the technology. Again, if you don't believe me, if you're in the comments right now saying you're crazy, cloud gaming will never be a thing. I'm not. Go try out GeForce now. It's the closest. Get the Xbox Anywhere or the Xbox Cloud is close. It's like I would say it's like 87% of the way there.
Right.
GeForce Now is 100% of the way there.
Yeah.
Cloud gaming is the future. You're not going to need a high-end PC rig. You're not going to need a high-end console. Uh, Having said that, I do think handheld gaming is also part of the future. I think Nintendo has been ahead on that. And I think the reason is as we have more entertainment options than we've ever had before, uh, we're inundated with information unlike we ever have been before. There are more options. I mean, when we were kids and you're on your let's say original Xbox or Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, whatever gaming console you had what was there in front of you. You didn't have all of these things coming in all the time, instantly available to you.
Hmm.
So your attention span was longer. There wasn't so much grabbing, for your attention. Uh, and so I think handheld gaming enables you to gaming evolves to your lifestyle instead of you having to adjust your lifestyle to gaming that a console or a PC even forces you to do. A
Hmm.
gaming handheld. That's why I love the PlayStation Portal. Here, I can take it, I can play it on the couch while my wife reads a book, and I'm not separated, I'm not disconnected from her. My kids are playing. I'm not disconnected for her. I could take it on the road if I'm having to work and I can pop in
Hmm.
and do something. I think that's why the Steam Deck has been so popular.
Oh yeah.
ROG Ally is so popular. The Nintendo Switch. I think that's why everybody has a Nintendo Switch because the convenience factor. It forces gaming to adjust to your life instead of you having to adjust to gaming. And I think that's why game handheld is the future combined with cloud. I actually think when they release the next console, you're gonna have this ballsy, powerful machine, whatever it is,
Hmm.
traditional, standard. Then when they release the handheld, I think the handheld will outsell the console.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I believe that statement you just said is something to mark down because I believe you're onto something there. I really do think that's and hopefully it'll be some kind of hybrid to the point to where you can at least output it to a television,
Mm,
not necessarily 4K blah blah blah, but if you could at least get the option like the Switch did to and maybe if the dock's not with it, some sold separately, or at least the ability to plug in
yeah.
HDMI or something like that to it, I think that really opens them up to so much more, including the Japanese market. Is really big on handhelds,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why the Switch is so dominating over there. It's because they like the portability. It's both,
Yeah. No, I mean it's why mobile gaming may out like people don't realize because people think like, well, mobile gaming, that's not real gaming, that's not real gamers. I'm a real
right?
gamer. I play on a PC and a console. Well, actually, I mean, it's why Diablo is going mobile gaming, why all these traditional games are going
Hmm.
mobile gaming. The numbers are undeniable. Like they're huge. You make so much more money on mobile gaming. And it's because your potential audience, everybody's got you in their pocket and they can play you, jump in and play for an hour. They can jump in and play for 5 minutes. Uh, and that's why cloud gaming is so huge. I think that's that portability factor, that convenience factor. It's unmatched.
Agreed. And even a little game like Candy Crush that Microsoft was smart to go after with with that deal. That game still makes over $1 billion a year.
Yeah,
A
people don't
mobile game.
people don't realize. I mean, Diablo Immortals made
Hmm.
more than all of the other Diablos combined. Like, it's
Yep.
huge, dude. That's just that's the reality that we live in.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. X1, dude, it has absolutely been awesome having you on here. I really appreciate you coming on and talking gaming with me and telling us a little bit about your history and the things that you're into. If you don't mind, though, as we start to wrap things up, I kind of like to ask this: what is there one game or maybe two? I always everybody's always give me two. A game that's coming out in the future that's been announced, because sometimes we get a little more inside information either way, but there's something that's been officially announced that you're most looking forward to that's coming out, I'd say in the near future.
Does Grand Theft Auto count? We talked about Grand Theft
Sure.
Auto. Uh, if you think about Grand Theft Auto 5, it actually, if you remember back, it actually dropped on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. It
Mhm.
dropped at the very end. It actually
Yep.
was not available on the Xbox. That game has absolutely crushed it.
Yep.
Uh, in the fact that it's still in the top charts here. I'm very excited to see what we do now, what Rockstar is able to do now with new mechanics, with new world building. Nobody does it better with world building, I think, than Rockstar. Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 are two of my favorite games of all time, and a lot of that is because of the world building that they do. Grand Theft Auto always has fantastic world building. If we go off of Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance, I think we're in for something special. I know some of the behind the scenes stuff, some of the leaks that have come out about
Hmm.
how realistic it's going to be, about how detailed it's going to be. You know, if you commit a crime scene is actually set up, and the
Hmm.
police investigate it, the NPCs investigate it, stuff like that. So, Grand Theft Auto 6, I'm going to be very interested to see what kind of records it smashes, because it definitely will. So, I'm very, very excited for that. A second game that I'm excited for has not been, can I say one that's not been announced, but that I'm
Sure.
curious?
Yes, you can.
The next Elder Scrolls, again, similar to on the world building side
Hmm.
there. I just think the bar is set so high for Bethesda, and that risk is here for Rockstar as well with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Can they match it? Skyrim is the pinnacle of what Bethesda has done,
Hmm.
and can are how do you match Skyrim? I mean, Skyrim still is a top selling game to
Yep.
today. What do they do to match that? I'm very, very curious about that. I'm very curious what's coming there. Skyrim, there we go. That'll definitely be a Game Pass game. So even more
Yeah.
excited, but very curious, because Skyrim I got lost in. The first time I saw a dragon fly, like, that is a memory. The first time you Fusro someone, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
first time you see a giant in the snow, what do they do? Can they reach that level? The bar has
Hmm.
been set incredibly high.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure, man. That's a great choices, both of them. Uh, X1, the gamer. Please tell everybody where they can find you, where they can reach out to you, and when your show is on, and how they can, I guess, and your Discord too. That's how I reached out to you and communicate with you too. So let everybody know all about that.
Yeah, all my links, X1. If you just type in X1 the gamer on YouTube, you can find me there, and all my links to everything is there. We try to drop videos every day. I have been sick the last 2 weeks. In fact, I'm hopped up on medicine right now. So, hopefully I don't sound too bad,
Sound great.
but yeah, so try to do videos every day. The last 2 weeks, it's been about three a week out of the five. Just like I said, I've been sick. But X1 the gamer, X number one the gamer.
Fantastic, fantastic, and of course, in the description below. So don't fear if you didn't write all that down. We'll have the links to his YouTube channel, his X account, and a few other things will be in the description below. So just don't hesitate. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes or SoundCloud, Gosh, I'm on all kinds of stuff. Jesus. So,
Spotify?
eh,
Spotify?
well, yeah, Spotify. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So wherever you iHeartRadio, I'm on there as well. So whatever you tune into, you'll be able to check it out, and that will also be in the description of those videos, or excuse me, audios as well. X1, the gamer, sir, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it, and thanks for everybody else for joining us here on the Outbreak Gamers. Thanks, guys, and stick around. We got lots more coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Game over.